so one of the most initially challenging aspects of understanding what servers mean and what servers are was quite difficult for me initially because it felt archaic and it felt quite boiled down. In essence, the term is very overused that it puts you in a moment of doubt where you're like, wait, what do I really know what actually servers mean in the computing world? Or are they just a simile of what we know as servers or service in the actual world? That was one of the hardest, one of the I wouldn't say it's the hardest, but it was one of the certainly challenging terms where I should have taken just face value, but at the same time dove deeper in the sense that understood the deeper implementations or the deeper nuances of how you would approach servers. So essentially why I'm trying to press upon servers again is that it was one of the early things that I feel like I was a noob on, and then essentially having to understand actually, wait, what does the server actually do? A server is simply a computer, and that also didn't really answer the question completely because, okay, if it's a computer, how is it different from a client? And what differentiates a client and a server? And that has always been, that kept me bugging whenever I approach, the term server or I see server in any documentation. So it was really annoying from the fact that I didn't understand servers from a deeper level. But eventually, eventually the more sophisticated understanding that I had was that, okay, servers are actually in a way of saying, hey, the core of functionality or whatever function that you're providing, that means whatever function that you want to provide, and it requires a lot of processing, then you want to offload that to this computer. And this computer that does most of the processing is the server. And the computer that does most of the consumption, that means it's kind of laid back and just mostly doing the request, it can generally be attributed as a client. And this helped me really differentiate between what I should call a server versus what I should call a client, because it was really difficult for me to initially understand this nuanced difference. And there's definitely a balance that you can strike here for sure. But generally, clients are stateless, right? In essence, servers could also be stateless. And the fact that you need memory coupled with a server also makes it a challenging topic, because if a server is always needed to remember or every possible request that comes from the client, then that introduces the concept of essentially overloading or essentially buffering more memory, and eventually once you buffer out, the server crashes out, and you don't want that, right? So we were just thinking about two entities here that are doing point-to-point communication for now, right? They're just communicating right there. The one that requests more, sends more requests, is the client, and the one that sends more responses is the server. So we can also differentiate by this as a way to say, hey, is this a server or is this a client? But it's clear up front, right? But I don't know why it took me a long time to differentiate the two. At a first level, these are just two simple English words, but they come up in multiple areas. Whether you are in different industries, client could mean many things. Server could mean many things. And when you deal with it in the context of computer science or networking, then it comes down to really that communication and processing capability that is often going to be either pushed to one side and then mostly one does the consumption of that piece of information. So, or in essence, the one that knows it all is possibly the server, but not necessarily always. And the one that needs to know it all, or eventually, like if you want to connect this with this philosophical context, the one that is, or the questioner, that means the one who questions, is the client, and the one who answers is the server. So I hope this kind of clarifies the difference between what a client and what a server is.